Okay, as we start our discussion on fractions, decimals, and percents, we really find that all of these are very, very closely related. If I think about percents, percents occur when we're describing things that are out of 100. Okay, percent literally means per 100. So up here you see a grid. It's a 100 grid. It's a 10 by 10 grid, which represents 100 squares. If I were to write the fractional part of what is shaded, okay, you see that there are 3 bars fully shaded. Okay, that's 30, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 37 out of 100 bars or squares colored in. Now, we know from changing fractions to decimals that 37 out of 100, 37 hundredths, is written behind the decimal because it's a fractional part, it's part of a whole, as this right here, 37 hundredths. Now, as a percent, since percents are out of 100, you would just simply write 36 with the percent sign right there. Okay, you can see the answers. I'm sorry, not 36. It's 37. 37%. Okay? If you can just keep in mind that percents are out of 100, that will greatly help you in your conversions. Okay? Again, these are just more practice. Here we have, this is out of 10, the one in orange. There's 10 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 bars. So that's 3 out of the 10 are shaded. So that's 3/10. Written as a decimal is 3/10. Now as a percent, this would be a little different. Okay? The percent would be written as 30%. Okay, because remember, we're out of 100. So if I wanted to technically change my 0.3 to 30, I'm really multiplying by 100. And remember, when we multiply decimals by 100, we are essentially moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. So that would lend my decimal point right there. I would add a 0. So my decimal's technically at the end, but remember, we don't really write that. So it would just be 30%. So from moving a decimal to a percent, you are moving your decimal place 2 to the right. Okay, 2 to the right. So here we have 1/4. There's 4 squares here. 1/4 is our fractional part. 1/4, as you remember, is one of those fractions that you should just know. And we're talking about quarters. So that's 1/4. That'd be 25.25. Now as a percent, again, we're taking that 0.25 and we're moving our decimal places 2 to the right. So that would be 1, 2. And our decimal equivalent, or our percent equivalent, my computer turns back on, would be 25%. I'm sorry. Okay, and you can see that right there. Now, sometimes I'm going to give you a fraction, I'm going to say, okay, I want you to change this to a decimal, okay, and then to a percent. So to take this 3/8 and change it into a decimal, because we want to do that first to get it into a percentage, because working with tens and thousands and hundreds are a lot easier to do when you have a decimal. So anytime I give you a fraction and you want to make a percent, you first need to change it to a decimal. And you do that by taking your denominator and dividing it into your numerator, as they showed you right here. So it'd be 3 divided by 8. This is a terminating decimal. It ended nice and beautifully at 375 thousandths. So at this point, you would take your decimal, 375 thousandths, and you would multiply it by 100. Because remember, percents are out of 100. So when you have this, your decimal, just like I showed you in the previous examples, you want to move your decimal 2 places to the right. So multiplying by 100 is the same as moving decimal to the right. Okay, 2 spots to the right, because multiplying by 100, 2 zeros, so 2 to the right. So we take 1, 2, and our percent would be 37.5%. We look at the next one. Now we're kind of switching the roles around. If I give you a percent, I expect that you can change that into a decimal, okay? And we do that by dividing by 100. We do the inverse to go backwards, okay? So dividing by 100, DP stands for decimal places. You would multiply, or you would, you're just moving the decimal 2 places to the left now. Okay, so 5% would be 5%, and you would move that decimal place 1, 2 to the left, and you would just add that 0 there, any kind of little dip. So your decimal would be 5 hundredths. The 5 is in the hundredth spot. Now, I expect that you can change this back over into a fraction. And I showed it to you in fully simplified form, but this would really be 5 100ths, and you would simplify that or reduce it to 1/20th.